Okay, well, thanks you for coming for this panel. So to the audience, I think we having the privilege to be having asking these gentlemen in a panel discussions, we mean we will be able to see a lot more inside story, fruitful confessions, what's going around, and the things that you don't normally see in a normal presentations, because we don't know what kind of interaction we're going to get. So first of all, to make the audience understand a little bit more about yourself, rather than you guys than your presentations. Maybe but the challenge is you have 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds to let the audience know who you are, what you do, and what can you help the audience. Okay, 30 seconds. So I'm gonna start with you first. 30 seconds, start now.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David. I'm from Waterroom. Waterroom is a social enterprise that develops portable water filtration systems for the purpose of suburban as well as urban communities to get clean drinking water. We have been in operation for the past 4 years. We have catered to 14 different countries around the region, and so far 35,000 people have been benefiting from what we have.
Okay, done. Exactly. Well, so this is kind of like elevator pitching. Okay, maybe it's your turn.
So hello, my name is Jay. I'm the CEO of Tech. We are applying IoT into precision agriculture. We want to help the farmer to reduce the resource but increase the crop yield.
That's less than 30 seconds. Your turn. Maybe some of the newcomers in the room they don't know.
Okay, so I'm Jukka Vitanen from Results HQ. I help city governments and regional governments to develop their cities to be new innovation engines for growth.
Okay, fantastic, guy. So the first question is, our panel discussion is about innovation of our urban solution using the bottom-up solutions. But in order to know what is bottom-up, we should know what is top-down first. So I think I would love to ask the expert here to give a very brief explanation about the top-down. And also I'm going to ask you two, what do you think, in your opinion, what is top-down solutions? Because we may have different definitions, and I want to know about what exactly your opinion on a top-down solution first.
Well, to my understanding, top-down means that somebody believes that they can create a grand master plan for everything, and they pick up the kind of a manual from some knowledge scholars, typically from United Nations or World Bank or somewhere, and then they draft guidelines and different kinds of regulation and expected procurement processes, and then they expect the others to come and meet the requirements that they set. So this is typically how the top-down models are working.
So it's mean like the one who can be able to deliver this top-down, most of the time will be government size?
Well, in most cases, typically it is at least public authority. Is it a government or agency or a city or some kind of expert organization which is interested in the whole topic of, for example, urban planning.
What about you?
Yeah, but I do agree with what Juka mentioned, that I think government has a big play in terms of casting the vision and giving an idea and strategy and direction for what a smart city would look like. I think what's also key for these players would then be to understand how to allow private sector to come in, whether it's subsequently from the startups or MNCs, but that means allowing them to use data points, providing data source and giving access and permission to utilize this kind of data. I think that's important, and that's something that has to be looked into.
Yeah, with me top-down means this is the very important part of any innovation. And in Vietnam, I know that there's something we grow bottom-up. You just imagine a graph in Vietnam. So they have a solution first. They show the problem of the market, but the government do not know that they are an IT company, a transportation company, something like this. So I think that the top-down means you have some policy that support for the innovation to develop.
So, gentlemen, I would like to ask, our more than 192 countries in the world, how many countries you think that are a good example of top-down framework for innovation in smart city? Like how many you have worked?
Well, I cannot list them, but if I guess that the front runners, the ones who are perhaps more successful than others, taking from Asian context, I would of course immediately put the list Singapore. They have a really amazing planning system there, and it helps them to move forward. There are some others, probably a couple in Australia, a couple in China. Well, in China probably more than 2, but not more than 5. A couple of them in South Korea, a couple of them in Japan, but that's about it.
So it's like 5 to 6 countries.
Yeah, but this is only Asia. Of course, there are other countries in other geographies, but it's not so relevant perhaps for this discussion.
So you come from Singapore. So do you want to say anything about Singapore master plan, or you want to talk about other countries that you see that they have even have a better plan compared to Singapore?
Right, I think coming from Singapore, so I'm not too sure about the other countries in terms of how they have cast the vision from the government level. But I think what is a key strength of being able to do it effectively in Singapore is that the government takes a very long-term perspective. And it does help that the leadership has been there for a very long time, and therefore they do have that stability to be able to make that decision. And there tends to be 20, 30 years master plan that is always work in progress. And so with that kind of long-term vision, it helps a lot to enable them to see much more further and get the key players to be involved much more actively.
So G, how do you rate our old country? From a scale from 1 to 10, how will our Vietnam perform on the top-down framework from 1 to 10 for innovation and smart city?
Just think that's 2.
2. Well, that's great because we have 8 more to go. Where Singapore is already at the top, they have no more room to grow. So as you can see, is that the top-down is a little bit more like direct related to the political stability of the country, and also what is the mindset. But what if Singapore is wrong? What if the government make a mistake? They think this is the grand master plan, and what if it's turned out to be wrong? So for example, we have story like China is starting to use the credit system for the entire society to judge people based on their online behavior. So either any safety measurement or any kind of like advocacy group that should be there to be monitored and watching, and they can be the ones saying that, hey, government, what you do is not really the right way. So for example, in China, either any group that's have different voices against this top-down solution. How you have some experience working with from the government side?
Yes, well, the basic idea is that not to jump directly to saying that the top-down is not working. I think that essentially we should have some kind of a combination, some kind of a public-private partnership. A responsible government would always be willing to also include in their plans role for private sector, and everybody knows with the modern open innovation models at the moment that it's hardly possible that one organization ever could have all the experts in there. So that's why people are nowadays much more open for including the others. So in this sense, for example, if you're saying that what if they're wrong, if you have truly working innovation engine inside your government and inside your smart city planning body, whoever it is, it means that then you are doing this rolling planning. So you have to test, you have to try, you have to accept the fact that not everything is working, but you learn all the time and you try to fix something that is not going right. and you make sure that whatever your plans are saying, you still are open-minded in introducing the latest solutions and technologies and all of that. I think that there's a great potential if the top-down model is open for dialogue. So in this sense, I don't see it as a risk. But if you then go to the extreme, that something actually is going wrong, and should we then have advocacy groups and all that kind of thing? I think that the smart city discussion and the development is so multi-sided that it's quite natural that we will always have like opposing forces which are challenging each other, and instead of going to advocacy or perhaps start fighting about principles, if it's working properly, we will just find solutions together.
Thank you. So one of the examples that Mr. G had just shared is how Grab they apply the bottom-up solutions. So actually, I'm a great admirer of Grab, Uber, how they enter Vietnam market. If you may remember, Uber came to Vietnam a long time ago without a proper license, but somehow they still be able to spread the concept. Same like Airbnbs in Vietnam. Vietnam is a very interesting country for me. Whenever there's a new concept from overseas, once the people in Vietnam they understand, we have become the #1 country to adopt it. In Q1 2018, Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh cities is one of the top cities most active on Airbnb, only behind Gangnam where the Olympic is happening. And also Vietnam is always the pilot market for Facebook to test new tool, because we always find different way. So as I think we're kind of proud of Vietnamese who the guy who's really good at the bottom-up solutions. We're gonna find way to make it work, even though we don't have support. So right now I would love to ask a really honest questions. What is the story or the specific tactic that David and G, you have used as a bottom-up solutions to get your product to the people, to the user? Because I believe you are helping farmer, you are helping people without access to clean water. So the cost of the company is great, but sometimes it doesn't mean that you have support from above. So what is one example or two examples? What is the solution you have done to really bring your product to the place that people say that, oh, you're not supposed to do this, even though the things you do are good? Yeah.
I think there's a saying for entrepreneurs, which is it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. So sometimes you just jump into it and try first. But jokes aside, I think water is a very sensitive issue. Wherever we go into, it's very important to engage the top-down, the government, as well as the owners of the land. And because it's very sensitive in terms of voting, in terms of gaining support from the local community, that's why we have to track carefully. Even though it seems like what we do is a just simple device that provides water as a service, or whether it's water that's installed, water systems that are installed in households, but because we cater from a community level, it becomes key. So for example, places that we work with in Cambodia, we're thankful that we've been able to engage from even the federal government level as well as the state government. That's key.
Is there many cases that you don't have support, and even you have obstacle from the government side, but you still manage to make it work? Is there any such example?
I think we don't have very high conflict examples. The most difficult places that we have to work in are, for example, disaster conditions or even humanitarian relief conditions. For example, recently we were part of the Rohingya relief in Bangladesh. So we have to get out of we have only a very short daytime period to be able to install systems between 9 to 3 p.m. After that, the military army will chase us out, because nobody's going to be able to watch over our team if any of us are still there. So that is a kind of physical safety that is one of the biggest concerns. They are mainly allowing us to work within their constraints, but outside of that, they're not protecting they're not going to give us the protection. So that's one example. Another example is being able to deploy for during the ISIS conflict in Philippines.
Wow.
So we had to be protected as well by the military. We went together with the Singapore military, and that was how we were able to deploy our system. So there are some of these very difficult conditions to be able to do so. We have to move tactfully, otherwise it can be very dangerous.
So I think the cost for innovations in this case sometimes is someone's life, right? Do you have but I believe that your team is so dedicated, and that's why they risk their life, they push the border to make it happen. What about you? When you work directly with the farmer, do you have a similar story like that with David?
No, I think so because firstly we start with IoT. That means IoT, Internet of Things. So that time we also have no any regular about the system that use some wireless signal or something. So the way we do is, I think that is just an entrepreneur. We see the problem, and we find all the way to solve the problem, right? So we don't care about do we have a top-down policy or something to support in that case. So just see the problem and how to solve that. So from beginning when we work with farmers, we just convince them, okay, this way you irrigate for the farm is not good. Use this way is better for you to save water, save labor, and also it's better for broccoli. But the way we also see about, because our product is under management of the Ministry of Telecommunication, you know, so they have some regular about the frequency we use and the power we use for our solution. So one case we have is some last year we used with some frequency, but in the first year of someone in last year they changed the regular. So that's regular. They say that you should use another frequency for the transmission, but they still not mention about IoT. They just use the word of telemetry. That means remote, measure something remotely. So, but how about the controlling? Because IoT you have management, monitoring, and the controlling. So we have to think about how to that means how to comply with that. And we have to change our motto before they able to tell us and to stop us deliver the product to the market. But I think that luckily, because you know that what we do is with farmer. So the farmers is not impact the whole society, just like Grab or Uber. So they do not, I think that up till now, care about what we are doing. As long as I think that we still giving some benefit to the farmers. So the story of bottom up, I think another case in agriculture. I also share with you a very narrow case between the top down and bottom up. We work with some very big company, agricultural company in Vietnam. So the top manager say that, okay, we want to have the smart farm, and that's it. So we have to work with the team, and the team know nothing about the vision or the mission. So they also have some way to prevent us to invest in technology because they used to familiar with what they do, right? And they do not welcome for new things. So we have to have fighting with them, and to prove that this is good for you. And that's how we realize that the customer is different with the user. The customer who pay for you to do that, but the customer who also prevent you to do something like that. Yeah, that's it. I think that it's a very small scale of the top down and the bottom scenario.
Well, it's very inspiring. So I hope that the audience, when you hear more about the challenge that these guys are facing every day, because I think from my opinion, I really respect what you guys are doing, because the battle is not just about how to get a product online, how to maintain a user, how to get a game, people play the game, but this is like a matter of death and life. So when you're doing this way, how do you convince that how do you talk to the government side? So for example, imagine I would love to ask you like when your first project, when you do it on your own, you use a bottleneck, just do it. How long it take for the first government, for the first to really listen to you what you're doing, and how long it take from we will support you until here's the money, let's do it together. Like how long it take roughly?
I think for myself, what's important is to run pilot studies. So for us, it takes about 3 to 6 months to do a very simple pilot study. During this pilot study, it makes a lot of difference if we are very intentional in documenting case study, in documenting statistics, figures, as well as identifying who is the person of influence for this pilot project. So is this somebody who can be able to share about your case study, about your testimonies effectively to the rest of the other government bodies or the other key influential people? So I think that's identifying the right pilot project is important, and typically it takes us about 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months. How about yourself?
I think that it depends on the government, right? So there's a call from the government tell us, is this the company, is the agriculture company or the IT company? So it's very hard for me to answer that because the task policy is different with two companies, right? We're able to sign the contract with the software contract with the farmer or the contract of supply the device for agriculture, different policy. So, but I think that I love the work you say about the innovation engine. So I think that not only in agriculture, but with a smart city, they should have the committee that become the innovation engine inside, who have expertise about the technology, about the problem we are solving. So that's the key. Because I say with you that I rate about 2 per 10, right? One, because the government now talk about smart city, so that's the one point. But the way is very long, I think. Turning from the idea that they would like to do to the real smart city solution is very hard, very far, because up till now I realize that the government do not have some kind of you share about the innovation engine. So they do not understand clearly about what we are doing. So another case, when I met with some guys from the Ministry of Telecommunication, they also share about when I make a question about what is the regular for the IoT system, and you have to specify the name IoT because the IoT become a word now. It's not just a telemetry or the control, remote control or something. It's an IoT. So when you have it, I just received an answer that why don't you use the Wi-Fi connection? I just asked, where is Wi-Fi in the rural area to connect the data or the sensor to the cloud? Where is it? So I just feel that it's depends on the government to answer the question. Yeah.
So from your point, from your working experience, how long is it gonna take from first talk? Actually, what is the best way for any staff in the audience, if they want to talk to the government side, what is the best way for them to start the discussions?
Well, my first point is probably that these gentlemen, they are running relevant businesses. So the topics are something that are relatively known in any society, if it is water or agriculture or something like that. So in this sense, there shouldn't be kind of a big surprise to the government that they try to solve these issues. So in this sense, there is certain part of the regulation is there, and there are governmental plans to solve these issues. There are global contracts that we try to solve bigger issues, whole planet and all that kind of thing. So in this sense, I don't think that there should be a challenge to find somebody to talk to. But if you want to be practical, you should probably spend some time to figure it out governmental program structure. Government is typically using programs to try to change things or try to advance things and all that kind of thing. If you learn which ones of those programs are relevant to your own business case, then you can focus only on those and forget the rest. And find the key decision makers and influencers and all that kind of thing and engage through those programs to this discussion. That's probably the fastest way. If you somehow bypass the program structure and try to talk to officials directly and all that kind of thing, it may get a little bit difficult. Programs are typically there to be used, and if you can find good way through the programs, I think that would be probably a good idea.
So I think what I hear from your answers is we have to treat government is a special customer. You still have to do your homework to know really deep down the insights, what they need, who make decisions, and then develop a strategy plan to really talk and identify. Because once you be able to secure this relationship, there's a lot of things that are easier. From my experience, so I think after these sessions, I was just learned that I was lucky. Because last year when we were starting the idea to do the smart water refill network, I just do it. And then somehow there is a UNDP competitions. And I think I saw it, Facebook ad, I clicked, I applied, we got in. On that day, if I don't saw that ad, I think the idea still sit on the table until now. Yeah. But so is there any ways, for example, if you say that you have doing a bottom-up solution for you mean in 14 countries already, right? And are you also Vietnam now?
No, not Vietnam.
Or Vietnam only. So how do you get in country? He is only in one country. How do you get to 14 countries?
I think for us, the strategy is to leverage on strong partners and distributors around the region. So we only go into a country if we believe that there is a trustworthy partner that has the influence to be able to make the right connections as well as the right network of distribution. And only in that case then we will make the decision to go ahead with them. But typically it can take quite a while as well to build up that relationship and that trust. So word of mouth is key in I think Southeast Asia.
Yeah, so I would love to ask the audience, right? So as you already see, great example of how smart city and smart area to solve urban problem. So I would like to have a simple voting, raise a hand. If right now you want to build a game to get 1 million player, or you want to build a smart city solutions to enable 1 million, impact 1 million locals, but knowing that you have to work 10 times harder, you have to wait 10 times longer, who still want to do that? Who want to build a game, 1 million player games? Or who want to build a smart solutions? So you want to do 1 million smart IoT solution? 2 million. The second options. So who still want to fight against the odds and can we share have show of hand? 1, 2, 3. Well, thank you. And I think the best way to start is to work with these gentlemen. Because I think it's very, very hard to do the bottom-up solutions. And the only way is to find a really good founder who has fighting spirit. Because I think so far the only thing that keeps you guys going is because of your heart. There were so many challenges to do all of this thing, and you can see so many things wonderful about smart city and IoT. But in the end, it's the hard work, it's the bottom-up solution that kickstart. Once you get the bottom-up solution, you can prove your model. Then from top down, there are people that you get to come in and have, right? But again, you have to survive first. So thank you a lot, gentlemen, for this chance to learn from you. And I think the audience also would like to thank you for your time and your sharing.